Kia ora everyone, Zach here from Hakatime Rugby. I'm joined by a very special guest. Pleased to welcome Max from the black jersey. And not only that, we're actually using one of Max's photos from the game last night. Max was fortunate enough to go to the game. So
Lucky
well done
me.
on that. Yeah. So why don't you give us a quick introduction, Max? Tell us a little bit about yourself and also tell us how you found the game in terms of the atmosphere and everything else that was going on.
I got some quite good things to say about the game, actually. But yeah, just to start things off, kia ora everybody. My name's Max. I run the black jersey over on Instagram and here on YouTube. And I host a channel kind of similar to Zach's about analysis and stuff. And I'm just happy to be on the Best in the Games channel right now. Whereas over on Instagram, I'm just like, yo, check out these awesome stats and like have a bit of a yarn with everybody. Just try to bring the culture together for a bit of a laugh and just enjoy the passion that we all have for the All Blacks and other New Zealand-based teams. Goodness me, there was a pretty good atmosphere there. Seconds
Awesome.
to largest crowd that New Zealand Rugby's had, I think, in the last 10 years. It was the biggest crowd since the 2017 British and Irish Lions tour. So
That's
hefty
crazy.
attendance and quite a few Irish fans too. So that was awesome, mate.
Oh, that's good to see. I know with lockdowns, everything else, probably haven't had too many sort of opposing team fans in town. So good that they're actually able to travel. Good that they're able to enjoy this, historic tour, because it really is a historic tour, at the moment in New Zealand with Ireland there, the 5 games.
Absolutely. We're very happy to have the Irish over here, and I must say as well, it was a bit of a pleasure to have a yarn to the reserves in front of me. Some of the guys who played against the Māori All Blacks were sitting in front of me, had a bit of a yarn, and it was just really nice to build the atmosphere with those guys in front of me.
Awesome. That's awesome to hear. Well, we're going to get straight into this and treat this as a game review. So obviously the game last night, the All Blacks finished on top. It's the first of the 3 tests, obviously, second game of the tour. All Blacks finish on top, 42 points to 19. Before we get into sort of the play-by-play, Max, I just want to get your general thoughts. What did you think of the game? What do you think of some of the key points were that led to the All Blacks victory?
As me and Zach were talking about everybody before the recording started, we were raising the point that I think the scoreline is probably a bit generous to the All Blacks. Like, we deserve to win for sure, but a lot of the tries were more created off the Irish mistakes, whereas the Ireland players were kind of outthinking the All Blacks a fair bit throughout the first half, maybe a bit towards the second as well.
Yep.
So yeah, I was quite surprised after the first 20 that we ended up having such a blowout scoreline.
Yep. No, I agree. I think in terms of game management, it seemed that the Irish had the better of that. And they just showed that they are a very well drilled team. Obviously, they play together at club level predominantly. They've played very well at international level recently. And that shows just in the way and the style that they play in. They're able to game manage a lot better than, well, they seem to game manage better than we did, I thought, in portions of that game. And the scoreline, there was a couple of periods where the All Blacks ran in a few tries, which we will get to, which really blew sort of Ireland, out of the game, but also I think overall flatters the All Blacks somewhat. Because I just saw a few red flags early in the game. There was some real nervous energy in that first sort of 15 minutes, and it wasn't until the All Blacks actually started to get some ascendancy at the breakdown and in defense that the momentum and the energy started to turn. And as we know, All Blacks teams can put on points very quickly, which is exactly what they did to sort of pull away at that point.
I mean, for one, Fussy down on the ground getting attention after about 3 minutes.
Yeah.
He seemed pretty sore to start things off, and as he kept playing, he just looked a lot more mobile, if you know what I mean. And the fact that we had more mobility from the forwards was generating a lot of quick ball for the backs.
Yep. No, I agree. That was around the 3-minute mark, so we'll just sort of jump through the first 5 minutes. So in the very early stages, the All Blacks had majority of the possession, the first 5 minutes, and a lot of attacking opportunities in the Irish 22. It was around about the 3-minute mark that Fussy went down. Now, to his credit, he kept playing on, obviously, kept up and sort of stayed in the game. But then there was a momentum shift around about the fourth or fifth minute. Ireland got the ball, obviously started to get a bit of territory. get an attacking line out, and subsequently through a few phases and great work, score the first try from Keith Earls at the 6-minute mark. What were you thinking at that stage?
I thought that, you know what, with Matt Hansen out there, you might as well just put out an experienced player. And
Yeah,
when I saw Earls scoring, I was quite dejected, to be totally
yeah,
honest.
yeah.
Because, you know, I thought that, hey, I see this decoy runner coming through. It's quite clear that an inside runner is going to come through at pace.
Mm,
And Geordie Barrett and Quintu Paya just didn't quite seem to know what was going on. So Rieko Ioane got dragged over the try line with Earls, I believe.
yeah, yeah,
It was
that's
either
right.
Ioane or Reese. I was at the stadium, couldn't see the jersey number, but yeah, I was thinking, goodness me, we could see a loss at this rate.
Mm. It just started to feel like some of those recent losses that we'd had, against France and against Ireland, the opposing team jumping out to a quick lead, All Blacks showing nervous energy. I just wonder, is part of that coaching? Is part of that just, combinations haven't settled? But it was just sort of that feeling, oh, here we go again. This is the way we were beaten previously. We look nervous, out of sync. It just sort of made me think back to late last year.
I think with Jamison Gibson Park featuring at halfback for the Irish as well, he was communicating very well with Johnny Sexton, and
Yeah.
with a settled 9 and 10 combination, it was kind of papering over the tiredness that the Irish are feeling after the end of a season. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yep, definitely. They've got great ball recycling continuity. The next 15 minutes were pretty much in Ireland's favour in that, they started to show that continuity. Sexton was putting in these little chip kicks over the top and able to regather for himself. Jamison Gibson Park, I actually gave him the highest of my ratings for Ireland. I just thought, as that sort of access ball distributor, he's got a real quick pass, but he's also got really quick decision making, and he follows the play so well. So he's right there, pretty much at the back of the breakdown when the ball goes down, and he distributes with that combination of Sexton really, really well. So I thought, they just started to get a roll on for sort of 10, 15 minutes after that first try, going up to about the midway in the first half point, I should say.
Throughout the 5th to the 20th minute or so, the Irish were indeed looking very confident. The first half possession rate was not too different. The
Mm,
game finished with like 57% possession, but the Irish were just doing so much more with ball in hand throughout this period of the match, as I
yeah,
think the decoy runners were working for them at this stage.
definitely. Yep, that's right. 21-minute mark. The All Blacks start to get a bit of ball and score their first try eventually. So it was a great sort of sequence of play, ball coming out wide from Rieko Ioane to Quinn Tupaya, who pops that quick little pass out to Fainga'anuku, makes a break, runs sort of 20 meters, does get pulled down pretty close to the line, is able to recycle the ball quickly, back in field, Geordie Barrett running at pace, scores the first try. So a little bit against the run of play, that one, I thought.
I think what was going on, the All Blacks, they worked quite hard to see if they could create an overlap. And
Yeah.
Rieko Ioane and Quintu Paya did that quite well. So I'm thinking perhaps that post 2023, they'll perhaps be the first choice midfield combo once
Yep.
Tupaya's kicking game does get up to scratch, if you know what I
Yep.
mean.
Yep.
Flying Anuku really does not get a lot of ball, but hey, he did well with it when he did get the ball, as we saw
Yep.
here.
Yeah. One noticeable change from Fainga'anuku between club level and international level. I noticed he actually goes looking for work in the Crusader setup. He's got quite a high work rate, more so than a lot of wingers, where he's looking for those balls in and around the ruck. There was a lot less of that in the first half of this game, I saw, to my eye. So it just seemed like he wasn't involved too often in the game. Whereas typically it feels like he's involved a lot in the games.
Yeah, I know what you mean. What I
Mm,
noticed when I was at the match, I saw Peter O'Mahony featuring out wide as a single player pod for the Irish.
yep,
Obviously, I don't have the footage to show you guys, but O'Mahony, rather than Jack Conan, who was on the bench, or Kalen Doris, was the one in a 1-3-2-2 pod formation. And I think
yep.
with a Jackling option out wide, Fainga'anuku was perhaps a bit intimidated.
Mm, interesting. I didn't notice that, but I'll have to watch it back and and check that out.
I mean, the game was going at a million miles an hour. I just picked up why on earth is an open side flanker. I know he wears 6, but let's face it, he is an open side. Why on earth is an open side flanker out wide on the wing? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that was interesting. I mean, if we run through some of the other activities leading up to halftime, so the Severies try, and I've had a look at a lot of commentary online. There's a lot of talk that it was, a soft try, that the All Blacks, against the run of play, were able to run away and score that try. But I felt at that stage the All Blacks were actually starting to stand up a bit more at the breakdown. They were being a lot more physical in the contact. Ireland ball distribution was a bit more sloppy, and that is what led to the disruption. And then Severies being able to pick up and run for a try. That was just what I thought when I saw the game. How did you sort of see that try?
The way I'm perceiving it is the Van der Fleer and O'Mahony not second row, sorry, loose forward combination isn't exactly an out and out jackling combination. It's more centered around slowing ball, if you understand what I'm talking about. But yeah, I think that with Scott Barrett selected at 6, the tight channels were a bit more closed up.
Yep.
And even if this wasn't the case, I think that the All Blacks would have saved a try, as Reece appeared to have done his homework, as did Tupaia as well, on the Irish decoy runners. So I think that even if the Irish didn't have that silly schoolboy mistake, I can't remember if it was Ringrose or it was Lowe who knocked on ahead of Reece's intercept, but whoever did that, they would have been tackled had they not dropped the ball, as Reece had done his homework.
Yeah, it was Ringrose, I think. It was either Ringrose or, I think it was Ringrose knocked the ball on. But from that point until half-time, All Blacks run in, Reece try, Quinn Tupaia try, and Aaron Smith. Sorry, it was Artie Severe try after the Aaron Smith break. 3 quick tries in 10 minutes. And to me, that's actually the telling of this game. There's a lot of areas that this game was incredibly tight. In some instances, Ireland had the advantage for periods of the game. In other instances, the All Blacks had periods of the game, advantages in periods of the game. But what the All Blacks do really well is score points when they have advantages. And to run in 3 quick tries before halftime, huge, huge outcome in the match.
Yeah, that was a bit of a freak show, mate. I was just sitting there, I was like, oh my goodness, this is terrifying. We're going to lose again. There's this huge crowd. And suddenly the boys just start running riot because the Irish, their ball handling wasn't 100%. I've never been to their nation, so I'm not sure how the weather is. But if the rumors are true, then why are they having the problems with the dewy surface? You know what I mean? As far as I'm aware, they get quite similar winter weather to us here in New Zealand.
I was going to say, I've been there and they should be used to it.
Yeah. They were just basic schoolboy mistakes that the Irish didn't genuinely seem to have problems with in matches they won during the Six Nations.
Yeah, good point. And that could be travel factor. That could be end of a long season. It could be, under pressure at a packed Eden Park. But there was some noticeable issues with handling and with errors for sure.
To be totally honest, I'm just going to say both teams had that problem, though.
Yeah, true. Halftime, though, 28-5. And one notable thing just before halftime, Johnny Sexton down the tunnel after failing an HIA. So Carberry came into the match at that point.
Mate, I think that Carberry as an individual played very well, but his communication with Gibson Park perhaps isn't the same. And I think there was an issue with the combination and the leadership. Like, in terms of, stats, passing, so on, Carberry was totally 100% a better player, but they missed the leadership when Sexton came off, eh?
Yeah, I agree. And they do talk about this on the Irish side, is that they're very dependent on 5 or 6 key names. They actually need to start bringing depth into different areas. And that was part of the reason for extending the games was let's get more players down to New Zealand, more high-pressure rugby for some of these fringe players, and start developing more combinations. So great that Carberry got a run, I think, long-term for Ireland. They definitely need to start building other combinations because Sexton is sort of coming to the end, or not far off, maybe a few years away, but he's not too far off.
Yeah, he said he'd retire after the 2023 World Cup, and should he make it to that, if he doesn't get injured, he's going to be the nation's oldest ever player. And I think that all the injuries in Carberry's earlier career are kind of coming back to bite the boys right now, because they never really trusted anyone besides Carberry to back Sexton up from 2016 to 2019.
Yep. Well, they've got this Kieran Frawley coming through, so it'll be interesting to see how he develops. Obviously, limited opportunities there against the Māori, but he'll get another crack. And if Sexton is unable to come back for the next game, let's say, Frawley probably gets the nod on the bench there for Ireland. So another good opportunity for them to develop some depth.
If the young fella, sorry, I nearly interrupted you there. If the young fella does get a go, then bring it on, eh? Bring it on.
Yeah, exactly. I'll just quickly run through the rest of the second half, and then we'll just get sort of summarising the game, Max. So try shortly after half-time for Ireland. They're able to maintain possession. Ringrose gets the try in the corner after going wide. Tough kick for Carberry, who converts. At that point, it's 28-12 to the All Blacks. All Blacks maintain possession. Ball comes out to Severe, who finds space on the edges. Great run from him. Beats Henshaw. Ringrose steps Earls, scores a great try. Right, built on the way to possession at that stage, but 35-12 at that point. Peter Gus Sawakula gets a run, so great to see him get his debut. First touch, not great, knocks on. Is able to come back with a dominant tackle later on and ultimately scores the try. So great hit back from him. And that was sort of late in the game, 71st minute, so 42-12 at that point. The final act of the game was Bundy Aki, who scores a try in the 77th minute. Ireland get the last say, which I think is important in the context of a series and a tour to keep the confidence levels high. And the All Blacks win this one 42 points to 19. So, any sort of final conclusions just on the game from your end?
From my end, Zach, I do want to say that I think the Irish in the second half, they'd returned to the status of early in the first. But as they often say, mate, defense wins the games. So I was really happy with how the All Blacks were defending close to the line. Like, as I said earlier on, the overall possession rate was 57 for Ireland. Second half, 64% possession. So, the credit has to go to Scott McLeod, who is drilling the All Blacks defense really well. Because had they not held the Irish up so many times, I think we would have seen a much closer scoreline.
Definitely. There were 3 times, if I remember, 2 from Rieko Ioane had a hand in it, right? Just disrupting, dislodging the ball. And you got to look at that and give credit to the defense, right? So it's, it's another area I think fans on the opposing team sort of looked at it and gone, oh, if only we. But also, I think you give credit to the defense in those instances as well. So I think these games, especially coming up, are going to be a lot closer than this score suggests. A lot of people were expecting Ireland would come down and just get sort of blown off the park. Against the Māori, it looked like, to me, similar kind of thing. When the Māori got possession, had the ball, they scored tries quickly. When the Irish are able to keep the ball in hand, they actually show that they are very well drilled and very well coached. Similar in this game. All Blacks can score points quickly. Ireland, though, I think, probably, this might be controversial, the better coached, the better drilled, and the more cohesive team at the moment.
To be honest, though, Zach, I don't think what you're saying should be controversial whatsoever, because
True.
I said in my analysis ahead of this series that a lot of the All Blacks attacks are basically just more advanced variations of hands down the line or something like that. Yeah. Don't quote me on it 100%. You can see my video for the actual quote. But, I think Andy Farrell has coached Ireland very well. And the symptoms that we're seeing are symptoms of just the DNA of the teams.
Yes.
Like the Irish teams, for whatever reason, just are so good at doing whatever the heck their coach says to do. Whereas a lot of Kiwi players are told to play to what's in front of them. And I think that's why the scorelines are getting so out of control, because so many basic mistakes are coming up because of the fact that it's the end of the Ireland players' season.
Hmm. I agree. It does set up the rest of the series well, so obviously advantage to the All Blacks. Enough there to suggest that the Irish can come back though and be very competitive in the series. So let's see how we go the next few games, Max. Really appreciate you joining me. I will put links down to both your Instagram and your YouTube channel in the description below. And really appreciate it, mate.
No, much appreciated, Zach. Thanks very much. As you said, guys, remember to check me out on Instagram. Check out my YouTube channel, and I do also have an official website for like opinion journalism, things like that. So thank you very much for inviting me on your channel, Zach. Thank you very much, mate. Cheers.
Thanks, Max. See ya.